So you're trying to revise required practicals. Good, because 15% of marks are on practical techniques. So the required practicals should absolutely be included in your revision. I'm going to tell you what you need to know for each practical, but more importantly, which ones are the most important ones to revise. So, for each experiment, you need to know the aim. This might seem basic, but if you are clear on the aims of your core practical, you are more likely to spot an associated but different experiment presented to you in an exam question and be able to draw on the correct knowledge. You must also be able to identify variables, the independent variable you investigate and the dependent variable you measure. Ensure you can name and explain the purpose of at least 3 control variables for each practical. And you might be asked to explain the importance of them, which is to ensure only the independent variable affects the dependent variable. Or you could be asked to comment on the validity of a study presented to you by the examiners, and you should be looking for control variables and a control experiment. You must be able to write a risk assessment for each practical with risks clearly linked to precautions. You need to know why and how certain parts of the method are important at producing accurate, reliable, and valid results. And remember, these are achieved through different aspects of the practical. For more information on how these individually are achieved, check out my video on critical data analysis. You also need to be able to comment on uncertainty of measurements relating to equipment you use. You also need to perform calculations of percentage uncertainty. So if you are uncertain about uncertainty, check out my study leave shorts number 5. It's also possible in an exam that you might have to process or interpret results, or recall relevant equations, maybe explain observations seen, evaluate a method, or perhaps suggest improvements. So, if you're revising, making a summary table a little like this could be very helpful to bring together key information. So let's move on to which are the most important required practicals to revise. And the information on the AQA website can really help you with this. We are going to look at the paper you are sitting, but also the apparatus and techniques tracker. And we're going to link this tracker to the required practicals to see which ones have the most skills assessed. So let's look at the papers. First of all, for AQA paper 1, it is practicals 1 through to 6, but I would also look at practical 12 if you've done it, as it involves ecology sampling, which as a topic does come up in paper 1. For paper 2, you need to revise practicals 7 through to 12, and for paper 3, all of them. Now, that is a lot, and I would definitely try to revise them all, but with all of the content to learn, there is some strategy here. So let's look at the apparatus and techniques tracker, which is a list of skills and competencies in using certain equipment and methods developed across the course. Now, approximately 6 of these 12 get examined across each exam series, some more than others, but 6 out of 12 is a good hit rate. So it's a very useful list to prioritise your revision. I've another video on this linked in the description on which of these have come up the most in recent years. So let's cross check our apparatus and techniques tracker with our list of required practicals and see which show the most practical skills and therefore should be higher up on our revision list. So here are my top 3 required practicals because they each cover 5 skills from the apparatus and techniques tracker. Practical 1, enzyme rate of reaction, practical 4, permeability of membranes, and practical 12, environmental factors and species distribution. And if you look at the different skills that these 3 practicals cover, we've already covered 8 out of our 12 from our apparatus and techniques tracker. Covering the next highest number of skills is our potato osmosis practical, number 3, and our rate of respiration practical, number 9. Each of these covering 4 skills from the list. The practicals that cover 3 skills, we have practical 2, root tip mitosis, practical 5, dissection of organs or organ systems, practical 7, photopigment chromatography, practical 8, rate of dehydrogenase in photosynthesis, and practical 11, our glucose calibration curve. That leaves us with practicals 6 and 10 that cover 2 skills and 1 skill respectively. So this potentially gives us a starting point of which practicals to revise first. I do urge you, however, not to use this as a way to disregard a certain practical. Practical 10 only covers one technique from the list, ATH, the safe and ethical use of organisms. However, the examiners do also like this practical because it allows the use of the statistical test chi-squared. So, what I'm saying really in summary is use this information to prioritise but not discount the specific practicals. The top 5 to revise are 1. Enzymes, 4. Beetroot membranes, 12. Sampling organisms, 3. Potato osmosis, and 9. Rate of respiration. And when revising, really remind yourself of the skills that you should be able to demonstrate from completing it. Definitely revise the skills and equipment listed on the apparatus and techniques list, many of which I've covered in videos, or there's a useful link to a summary in the description. But most importantly, don't let the amount of content you have to learn get in the way of revising your required practicals. If you need more support on common misconceptions in A-level biology, maths questions, or maybe how to approach other question styles, check out the playlists available.